So empathy is the ability to share, feel, and sometimes experience what someone else is feeling. It's not just a soft skill, it is part of your superpower arsenal to help build deep, meaningful connections. And that's what we're talking about today, how to use empathy in this quest for our success. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and I'm so excited that you've joined me for day number 52 in this 100-day walk to consistency. Remember, each day we're building a better version, a more consistent version of ourselves, and each day we're putting in a new piece of the puzzle to help us to be successful and to help us go to that next level. I want you to know that your superpower, consistency, superpower. It's a little colder today, but we're out because we're being consistent. Let's go ahead. I'll see you on the walk. I was in a room several years ago talking with a patient, and I had been trying to we had been trying to get better control of the blood sugar. And this was a patient who was diabetic. And I had done everything. We had talked, we had been to education, we had, done the song and dance, everything that we possibly could try, we had done. And there was no seemingly moving that needle. We just couldn't seem to get through to that person. And one day, a person comes back to the office, and one of my videos was playing in the lobby. And I guess they had been sitting and they've been watching the video. And so come into the room, and we're sitting now and we're talking. And this patient says to me, "Hey, I didn't realize you were diabetic." And I said, "Yeah, I am." And they said, "How long have you been diabetic?" And so we kind of explained the length of time and what I've been doing and the struggles and so forth. And it seemed like something switched. There's a switch that went on. A light bulb went off. And so coming back now, and we're moving forward, and blood sugars are getting better, A1C is going down, we're getting better health benefits. And so one day I said to the patient, I said, "Hey, we had struggled for so long to try to get you to get better control. And now you are getting better control. What changed?" And you know what they said? They said, "I finally knew that you understood, that you felt me, that you weren't just telling me stuff that you had read in a book. You weren't just sharing with me things that you had heard some people say, but this was something that you had been experiencing." And empathy is like that. Empathy is that place where you are able to essentially put yourself in that other person's shoes, and you can understand, you can feel their feelings, and it gives a deeper connection. It gives a deeper understanding of what's going on with that other person. And so empathy is not just a thing that we talk about. It's not just one of those soft skills, you need to be empathetic, but it really is one of those things that helps to bring success. And so we're going to talk about how empathy works and how it helps in us becoming successful. So what is it, and what does it really mean? Okay? Empathy is not the same as sympathy. So sympathy is, I feel sorry for you. Empathy says, I feel with you. The difference between, hey, I just have some emotional connection to you, and man, I'm really sorry that happens. But the difference between that and being able to sit and feel and cry and laugh and all the emotions that go along with that what that person is feeling. Empathy says, I'm there. Okay? There are times when I've been talking to someone, a friend, a family member, a patient even, and I don't have the words to say. I don't know what's going to make it better. I don't know what's going to help them feel, not feel. I don't know what's going to make them not feel. Okay, so sometimes we try to make people not feel whatever they're feeling. And sometimes I sit. One of the stories I tell was a story that I used during one of my statements for medical school, and actually for many of the things that I've done in terms of applications. And it's the story of a woman who we had seen while I was a student years ago. And she comes in and she had cancer. And, we took her to the ER because we were going to do a procedure. And after the procedure was done, we took her back to the room, and so she's now recovering. And I walked in one day, and, I was trying to do my thing, right? So medical student, you come in, you see the patient, and you're trying to do what you need to do to be able to present this patient on rounds. And I walked in one morning, and she just had looked like the weight of the world was on her shoulder. And so I went away, did my thing, made my presentation, and I came back, and I walked into the room, and she was watching TV, and I sat. I didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. She just kept watching TV. And the next morning, after I finished all my rounds, I went back and I sat. And she watched TV. I watched TV with her. And she didn't say anything. I didn't say anything other than good morning. Next day I come back, watched TV. And this went on. She was there for about a week. This went on for the entire time. And on the day when she was being discharged, she said something that wasn't profound. It was very simple. And there were just two words. She looked over and she said, "Thank you." And she went back and watched TV. I never know the impact of just those acts of being in the room, sitting with this woman and watching TV. And sometimes we try to correct, we try to fix, we try to make people not feel because we think we're doing the best for them. But sometimes we don't have words. And so just being empathetic is very important because it helps us build a connection to people, helps us be in their space. Empathy builds trust. It builds safety, and it builds a deeper connection. One of the things that I continually hear in my circles, in content creators and in entrepreneurship and in the business spaces where I find myself, that people do not gravitate, people don't buy, people don't move unless they know, like, and trust you. Know, like, and trust you. You could have the best product, you could have seen the best results, but unless they know, like, and trust you, it's a hard sell. And so empathy, being able to empathize with someone, allows you to begin building trust, not for the sale, not for the whatever it is that you think you're trying to get across. But empathy allows you to connect to people. Many times, our issue in our circles is that we're not thinking about the other person, right? The connection that we're making is a personal connection. It's something for us. It's a mechanism. It's something that we are putting in place, something that we're doing simply because we're interested in us. And empathy says, hey, there's someone else on the other side of this conversation. Someone else that feels, someone that's maybe hurting or some other emotion, some feeling. And I can be in the space sometimes where I'm just holding space for them to be able to feel that that feeling. That holding space concept, we'll see that again in one of our upcoming episodes. But very, 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 very important. So empathy builds trust. It builds safety. So what is it like to be in a space where the person that's listening to you is someone you trust, where you feel safe, where you feel, we talked about being vulnerable, and you heard me use the words, you want to do that in a safe space. Well, this is a way of begin creating that space. And so being in a safe place begins partially with being empathetic, providing that for someone. And it builds those connections, those deeper connections. It is the foundation of relationships that heal, inspire, and support. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on. Heal, inspire, and support. Heal, inspire, and support. Community has been shown, being in fellowship has been studied, and people who are in fellowship, people who are in community, do much better than people who are not. And so being in an empathetic scenario, empathetic relationship can provide healing. It definitely provides support, because all of a sudden there's someone that you can rely on, someone who feels your feelings, someone who's there with you, someone who's holding space for you. And can you imagine if you are the one that's able to provide that for someone else? The benefit of the relationship is astronomical, right? Because all of a sudden you supercharge that relationship, and that's a relationship, that's gonna grow. Okay? And then of course it inspires. Being empathetic inspires. When you can be empathetic, it inspires that person to be vulnerable. When they're vulnerable, their energies are not wasted in odd ways. They're able to think better. They're able to process their emotions better, because they feel that it is safe and someone understands. I use the word understand, but someone feels them. Okay? Not just I'm sorry for you, but I'm feeling with you. Okay? So empathy does that. So there are 3 types of empathy that we want to kind of talk about. One is cognitive empathy, emotional empathy, and compassionate empathy. Cognitive empathy, emotional empathy, and compassionate empathy. And so cognitive empathy is understanding what someone else is thinking. Understanding what someone else is thinking. For example, understand why a friend is frustrated. Right? It's in my head. I'll have to say, a lot of times when I first was dating, got married, I had cognitive empathy. I understood why you did it. I understood why you said it. But cognitive empathy, while good, sometimes doesn't go all the way, right? You know that. Because there are times when the person that's on the other side of the conversation, they understand. Right? You can see it. You know it's a head thing, that they have processed, they reasoned through it, and the reasoning makes sense to them. And there are times when you yourself have had cognitive empathy for somebody else. Like they've explained why they hurt you. They've explained why they stepped on your toe. They explained why they didn't give you the job, why you didn't get the promotion, why you didn't, whatever it was, you cognitively understood. Right? So that is where cognitive empathy happens. It isn't an emotional thing. And it can help with frustration, right? It can help because, okay, well, yeah, now I understand. I understand why they did it. And sometimes you don't even have to have someone say it to you, right? You don't have to have them explain to you why they did it, but you naturally understand what happened, why they could have done that, why they could feel that way. So cognitive. Emotional. This is feeling what someone else is feeling. It's about a shared emotion. It's kind of like having a friend who's crying because of something else, and you begin crying. You laugh when they laugh. In that situation where I talked about holding space, sometimes you're sitting there and you're just holding space, and whatever emotion is coming up, whatever emotion they're feeling, you're right there with them and you're feeling it. Okay? So that's emotional. And then compassionate. So we went from the head, we went to the emotions, right? We went to the heart. And now we're moving beyond head knowledge. We're moving beyond just being emotional about it, but we're going to understanding and feeling and taking action. You know I'm in pain. You know I'm hurting. You understand why I'm in pain. You understand why I'm hurting. And you may feel the pain with me. But now what? Right? Now what? And that's where compassion comes in. Compassion says that I'm not just going to have a head knowledge of it, and I'm not just going to have an emotional response to it, but I'm going to seek to find a way to help you deal with whatever's happening. Okay? And you guys see the snow that's around me. Let me turn around a little bit. That's why I'm bundled up a little bit like I am. It's a little colder than it normally is. Well, I should say a little bit. A lot more cold. Okay? So if a friend struggles with something, you offer your support and you offer to help. Now, one of my sisters said something to me recently that I am embracing. It's kind of like, there are times when someone will have some difficulty and we say to them, and I've said it to them, I said, hey, how can I help you? Right? And so we kind of wait for them to tell us what it is that they need and what it is that we can do to alleviate or to help. And my sister said to me just a couple of weeks ago, she said, well, I know what they're going through. I imagine some of the things they need, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to provide some stuff. Now, they may say they need something else. They may say, hey, in addition to this, hey, can you do this thing over there? But there are some basic things that we already know, right? When there's a death in the family, when there's some trouble in the family, when there's some financial issues in the family, we come up and we're like, hey, I understand, so I've got the head knowledge, and man, I am feeling for you, right? But I'm glad that you had the head knowledge. I'm glad that you got the emotional response, but how about giving me some money? How about helping me out of this situation? How about providing some food for my family while we're going through this bereavement? You get the idea? And so there is a place to allow people autonomy and allow people to direct their own and take charge and take ownership of their lives. But there are some things that we just need to be able to do. We need to be able to have compassionate empathy so that it goes from head knowledge to just me feeling to me actually taking action and helping to make a difference. Empathy. So empathy, so important in all the things that we do. And my hands are holding this Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay. All right. So, so empathy, right? So different types of empathy. Very important for us to understand those and understand that part of our growth, part of our expansion, is being able to now to develop some of these traits that, remember, we're trying to build a better version of ourselves. And so we're trying to improve, we're trying to get better. Now, I mentioned, was it yesterday or the day before, that you are sufficient just like you are. You are sufficient, right? Say that to yourself. I'm sufficient just like I am. I also mentioned that there are places that even though we're sufficient, we can improve, we can get better, we can grow, we can expand, we can refine. And learning to be empathetic is one of those places, okay? So how does empathy strengthen connections and build support? We've already alluded to some of this, but number one, it creates trust. When people feel heard and understood, they open up. When people feel that you are compassionate, they feel safe with you, okay? They feel that they can be themselves, that they can be vulnerable, and that brings deeper bonds of connection. Because I don't have to be afraid to share in this space with this person. I don't have to worry that my business is going to be out in the street. I don't have to worry that they don't understand. I don't have to worry that they can't be in this with me, right? This is my ride and die. The next thing, it fosters a supportive community. Oh yeah. It brings people together. Shared experiences. Now, when I talked about memories and emotion, we talked about visualization. You remember that? One of the things I said was that the more emotions that are attached to something, the easier it is to remember, and the stronger the memory is. And this is where empathy comes in. When there is a shared experience, when there are shared understanding or shared feelings, then those bonds are huge. We took a bunch of kids, when was that? 5 years ago now? So every 5 years we go camping, a big camp, international camporee. And we went and we took a bunch of kids. And there's nothing like camping to strengthen bonds, right? So those kids were out there and it rained. And, some of us, like me, didn't stake our tents down properly. And so the tent's rolling through the camp, right? And this last time we went, there was a storm that came up and we had to go take shelter. There were some people who lost their campsite, and so we were all pulling together to try to help them with supplies. Now those experiences, some of them were not fun. Some of them I would not want to repeat. But do you know what we talk about often when we talk about those trips? Yeah, those things right there. And we laugh about it. And the people who went, there is an instant connection, a bond that's built that is not shakable. So empathy brings communities together. And the wind is really picking up and starting to get a lot much colder. So if you're in a place where it's cold, empathize with me, please. Right? So it fosters community and it helps bring communities together. It creates networks of mutual understanding, networks of mutual shared feelings. It's the reason support groups are so vital and support groups are so successful, because the people in the group have a shared understanding and some shared empathy. It enhances communication, right? Because understanding someone's emotions allows you to respond in a meaningful way. If you just have some head knowledge, then you may respond. But when you empathize, when you have the head knowledge and the feelings, and now you're being compassionate, oh man, that right there opens up a world of communication that we wouldn't normally have if not for empathy. And then it promotes emotional safety. Vulnerability requires safety. Vulnerability requires that we be in a space where we can lay bare, throw our chest open, and be in a space where people are not judging, where people can feel, and people are compassionate now, and they're willing to hold space and provide support for me. Whew. Walking up a hill in the cold and talking. That's all right. That's all right. We got it. We got this. We got this. People are more willing to share their challenges, right? So people can always share successes. And you can share successes not even in a safe space. But to share a challenge, you got to feel safe to open up and say, okay, this is a place where I'm having some trouble. I'm having some difficulty. Okay? All right. So let's see. Promotes emotional, promote safety and emotional resilience. Here's one that we will say. And resilience is something that comes up over and over and over, and you've seen that. So how then do we practice empathy daily? Practice empathy daily. So there are things that we want to do. One, we want to learn how to listen. Learn how to listen. And you're listening not with the intent that I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to say. I'm listening because I want to hear the person. I want to understand the person. I want to begin putting myself in their space. Okay? So I'm not listening and saying, okay, as soon as they finish, I'm going to make this point. Because we have a lot of understanding. We have a lot of points that we could make. A lot of examples, a lot of advice. But people aren't always looking for advice. They're looking to know that they're heard, okay? So when someone is sharing, listen with the goal of understanding. Ask open-ended questions, right? Like, can you tell me more about that? It sounds like this was really distressing. It sounds like this was really painful. Tell me a little bit more about how you felt, right? Notice what I'm doing is I'm giving space for them. I'm not judging. I'm not coming with a conclusion. I'm not trying to help. I'm just giving them space for them to talk and for me to be able to understand. Okay? What was the hardest part of that? Right? So that's another thing. Okay? So what was the most difficult part of that? Ask open-ended questions. And then validate their feelings. Validate their feelings. People want to know that they are heard, and they want to know that their feelings are valid. So here's an interesting thought for you. It doesn't matter what a person feels. It's not your job to tell them that that's an inappropriate feeling. You may think that way. It may be that was not what was intended by your actions or somebody else's action or somebody else's words, but people feel the way they feel. People feel the way they feel. And our goal is not to invalidate that, but to validate it. Now, we go on to say, or I go on to say, that a part of our feelings has to do with our interpretation and the meaning that we give to things. So sometimes we give an incorrect meaning to something. There are times when my wife does something or someone in my family does something, and I interpret it based on what's in my head. But I walk over and I say, hey, this is what I saw. This is what I'm feeling. Is that what you intended? They're like, no. I didn't even think about that. Okay? So all of a sudden, I've changed my thought. I've changed my feeling because of the interpretation. So the interpretation may be inaccurate, and that's what we need to begin working on. That's that whole mindset change. But the feeling itself is valid. It is what it is. It's the way I feel. You can't tell me how I feel. But what we can do is work to change the interpretation and the understanding. And then be fully present. When you're talking to someone and you're working on being empathetic, be here. Let me turn this around here. Be here. Don't be thinking about something else. If this is not an appropriate time, let them know. Say, hey, I'd love to talk with you about this. Can we do it at another time? Can we do it tomorrow? Can we do it this afternoon? Can we do it at 1 o'clock? So that I can be fully present with you, because right now I'm doing whatever, okay? That's much better than to be there and not be engaged and have inappropriate responses because your mind is somewhere else, okay? So be fully present. And then respond with compassion. Respond with compassion. If someone expresses a need, ask them. Say, hey, this is what I said. This is what I want to do for you. Now, they will say to you, no, that's not what I need, right? But to simply say, well, I feel you. I understand. I'm there with you, right? So compassion says I got to go beyond just the cognitive, just the emotional, and say, hey, I can do something else. I can be of assistance. Okay, so we can't ever leave without doing a challenge. And today's challenge is this. Number one, get your journal. All right, get your journal out and begin documenting. Everything we do, we're documenting. So reflect on a recent conversation that you've had. A conversation where someone was sharing something with you. Reflect on it. Were you listening appropriately? Were you using open-ended questions? Were you cognitively understanding? Did you have emotional empathy? Were you compassionate? Did you have compassionate empathy? Were you present? Okay, so reflect on that. Reach out to someone today who may be going through something, not necessarily to provide a solution, but to let them know that you're there and that you are open to being in a space with them where you can just hold space. So empathy is so important in what we do and how we become successful. We're building better, stronger versions of ourselves each day, right? Now, I hope that you are doing the challenges. I hope you've got your journal, that you are documenting. If you've got to go back and listen to something, if you got to go back and try something, all of that is okay, because each day we're putting another piece to the puzzle so that we can be successful in what we do. I'm glad that you're here on day number 52. We're going to see you on day 53 as we continue to work on building a better version, a more consistent version, a more resilient version of ourselves. I'll see you on the walk.